August 4th, century 20, year 21, Nicole Cattaruzza. I just had, it's year 2021. I just had dinner with Alexander James for his 16th birthday, my 43rd birthday. My son Benjamin, my son Daniel, my son Anthony, which I don't like that name, but we'll call him Cat Scratch at the moment. I laid out for all three of my sons. I did their genetic counseling best I could. I said, here is my last few days' whereabouts. I went to National Cemetery. You have a veteran grandfather buried in a national memorial cemetery with a cross on his gravestone. You also have a grandmother as a U.S. Army, A-R-M-Y, just U.S., when Clifford died. You now have Marie, who is your great-grandmother, grandma's mom, who is buried as Clifford's wife. However, on her gravestone, it says USA. The U.S. that the Army representative who won the Purple Heart was fighting for, being Clifford. Marie, his wife, he suffered foul play, and Marie was biologically attacked. So it's a USA. It's a U.S. attack on a veteran's wife who was fighting for some portion. Now, I'm what's called cross-eyed. See me? This is what's called cross-eyed. I have a cross here and I have a cross here because I have a U.S. Army representative that died, and I have a USA on tombstones, Tombstone, in New York, on Long Island. It's a national cemetery, that's official. And then I have second generation, which would be Clifford's son, Clifford, who is buried all the way out in Calverton. We did not get that far out. Linda only drove me to Pine Lawn in lieu. But we did visit Judy. It's a memorial and arboretum, meaning it's special class, some of them, not all of them. And it's on the corner of Constitution and Forest. On the north side is where Judith is buried, Judith Gunder, which is actually Judith Casella. And her photo is there, her dog and herself, which was a bull mastiff, which is also special circumstance. It's on her file. I just don't have the access to the file, so I don't know what it was. But I took a photo of that. On the corner it says non-potable water, not portable, potable. Again, I'm cross-eyed, so I'm in a Christian nation under a U.S. Army veteran and under a U.S. attack on our own soil. And now I have a mother who knows nothing about it, not even concerned, wouldn't know where to go, not taught. Why is it that in America, in this New York state, there's no genetic counseling whatsoever? There's no talking about a civil war. There's no talking about what's going on. Absolutely nothing. Since the day I was born, there's been zero conversation about it with me. Nothing about a career, nothing about a marriage, nothing about children, nothing about a legend, nothing about a Bible, nothing. So now I'm suffering under biological attack. I'm starting to have a problem with my legs, which I told Alexander and Benjamin. I told Daniel as well, but I don't know what, he's just quiet. He's just Dan. But Benjamin, when I speak, I need full confirmation because he likes to just ignore me, like as if I don't matter. And Alexander has this new habit of, like, shutting me off. Like, I'm a fucking nuisance to him, which never was before. But that's his new attitude. And I'm like, I just don't get it with them. Like, where this came from. Because it was always the three of us. The three of them and me. It was always like a brood. Now it's like there's distance, but I know I've been under attack for a while, so, and I know Jason's a piece of shit. The way he explains my situation, he caused it, and then he made it worse. So now I heard I'm cross-eyed, which means I'm Christian, in a Christian nation, with U.S. veteran status. I have an Italian father with his own story. I didn't even go down that genealogical nonsense. But the other thing of cross-eyed is I got a Catholic eye and I got a Church of England eye. And sometimes they get a little cross. It happens. That's my Christian way of explaining things. But it's serious, it's real, and there's no, like, I don't know what to, like, I'm not PR. I heard some guy on some radio station called Moth, M-O-T-H, which I'm like, that's really interesting, because I went to the local Rite Aid on security camera, and I'm like, hey, Rothschild? I was like, this is Mothchild, meaning Nucci. And then all of a sudden there's a radio station called Moth. I'm like, that's interesting. All right. So Lewis put it on tonight when we were coming home. There was what I call a Wintergreen, Wintergreen, which was some comedian with the last name Greene who had a speech impediment, but he loves communication, and so he does stand-up comedy. And he had a special word, which for me, it's a parody. It's a special word for him as a Wintergreen. I'm Hemotep, Hemotep. And he said something like, it's Saba, is all I know. Saba, S-A-B-A. I think it's H-E-S-A-B-A, something along those lines. I forget, I can't, again, with my Wintergreen, I try, but some of the details do slip. So it's an H, it sounded like an H-E, and then I don't know what, and then a S-A-B-A. I know it's Saba. For his special word that his speech therapist gave him, which helped him focus and then say words. Then after that, directly after that, it was it's on the station WNYC. So then there was a gentleman who is a PR guy, and he had his first client was something Gaddafi. I don't know the names, so don't get mad at me if I don't. So apparently Lou and Lynn knew who Gaddafi was. And then it was some brothers. He said a word. It eludes me now. But again, it's the problem I'm having within this atmosphere in New York, which is the problem. And he said something about the guy, Gaddafi, wanted to come over in good faith, and he wanted a tent built, and he needed something on the ground floor because he was not allowed to use elevators. I know these are the important points, but then there would be nothing in Manhattan for him. So then he went with Donald Trump and Melania in something called a Bedford, which I don't know where that is. It's something outside of Manhattan. I don't know. And then, let me think about this. The Bedford. And then he took Elise out. Then Donald wanted to go meet this guy, Gaddafi. He's from Libya. Is it Libya? Liberia? Again, it is so hard to keep a story straight for me with these details because they're so minute and similar. And I don't know the big, giant stage that they're the most important with because I have no experience. I've been stuck in New York for 42 years. Failure to launch, that would be myself. If I was a rocket, I'd be failure to launch. I never got in the air and out of here except 2 times. Very slightly, but not anything major, and not for learning institution either. Let's think about this. Then, oh, and he said that the PR guy named Chris, Chris, said his assistant was Nicole, Nicole, which I was like, Lynn, see, you hear him? I was like, oh, if he comes out with a Russian fighter jet, I was like, that's it. I was like, well, no. But he didn't say that part. And then he said something about a goat. And I'm like, oh, right, that's gotta be... Did they name the goat Nicole at least? Like, this gets confusing. I was like, I don't know where he's going. He's pitching a tent. Is that a circus tent? Or is that a... Right, I don't know, because it gets, again, it could go so many different ways. I mean, like, I've got Japanese people who have some special archway that's very sacred. I don't have a word for it, though. Then I've got the Irish people who's got some stone in an arch. That's important to them. I don't have a word for that. I haven't met anybody. And not stuff they talk about with outsiders. And then I got the Hebrews that got the pi symbol in that whatever. And then that gets confusing because I'm like, all right, so Japanese, Jew, and an Irish guy walk into a bar or into my life frame. Like they all worship the same symbol, but I don't have an individual word for any of them, and I don't know what to call it myself. I don't know how people reference it. So it's like an alien trying to speak, but I know I can draw the picture. I don't know. And that's how I've been my whole life. So I try to speak to my children. I'm like, here's your biological terrorism map. Grandpa Clifford, U.S. Army, fought, didn't die. Well, he died of whatever. And then, but Purple Heart recipient. And then, which I don't know, I think Keith has that out, Ring Eyes, and out in Arizona. I don't know why. And then there's something to do with... Then there was Mariah, who's USA reference, but she's the one with the MS, it's MS, it's ALS, and it's Lou Gehrig's disease. Now, that, along with my other grandfather from Italy, he died of Parkinson's disease. He kept telling his legs to stop, and they wouldn't listen, he said. He says, so I had to throw myself into the bushes to get myself to stop. These are biological terrorist attacks that go unannounced or unknown because they seem so minuscule until you realize and then you have track of it, and then you're able to explain it. But I don't know where to go with any of it, and I don't know what's been done. I just know that technology is a big problem, and in my life frame, it seems that that's all they've been pushing. So I know that this Chris gentleman no, put them back on, please, on the news program, on the radio, mentioned that, and I know that he told the story as a PR, because I am a novice when it comes to this. I have special word, but I have special code word because I'm still like a baby on the big global scene because I never got out. It was failure to launch, although whatever. I'm what's called impoverished. I am POV, and then it's RISH. I'm a Pris, PRIS, but I'm not one that's taken care of. I've been left in the dumpster in New York, and they forgot that they took the garbage and the rubbish out. And it's a real problem. It's part of Chris's story he said on the radio tonight. But it's a big problem. Because I have a marital bed elsewhere that I belong to, and that's like planetary important kind of a thing of like, oh no, she's like Russian smart. It's just she doesn't want to be around the American Lynn and the Italian American Lou because they were attacked. They just don't know it. So, and it's hard. I don't want to make them feel bad. I just go around them and stay quiet. And then when something happens with my children, that my children might get hurt falling in a hole that my father dug by accident because he doesn't know, I try to like hold my children back and go, whoa, 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 hold on. Before we go any further, take a look at that hole. Here's how we got there from my perspective. Here's what I was left with. Here's what I saw. Here's how I avoid it. And that's it. All right, now we're good to go on. And we move on. That's how I handle my children. Star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. I also told Alexander and the boys that in New York at this current hour, being year 21, century 20, the lightning is striking horizontal, but when it's healthy, and in other parts of whatever, the world, it is a north to south, a vertical strike. I was like, so that's really important for biological terror, because you got to remember, they put on super magnets and things, they change the zenith, they change the gyroscope off by degrees. That causes global warming because you're at the wrong everything. I was like, and the magnets are now off, which pulls the health and safety and welfare of the humans off, and it makes the container, being the earth, warped. And my children were like, Ben was just like, how do you know all of this? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know how to explain, like, I don't know how to answer that question for you, Ben. I was like, I'm a Russian fighter jet. I was like, I'm not from around here, in case you didn't notice. Like, I know Lynn and Lou, like, they tell you I'm their daughter, but, like, it's not like what you see on TV in, like, a sitcom. It just isn't. I don't belong to them. I don't even like them. I think you've gotten that your whole life. I mean, I tolerate them, but I just know I'm not them, and I don't want to be like them. Not that there's anything wrong with them. It's just the elevator's thing. I mean, I'm cross-eyed. I'm good to be cross-eyed and move it along. I got other things to do more important, like I want to be walking at, like, and I don't want my face to start to melt off. I like being beautiful, and I like being with the man I was built for, and not being raped by Jason and having to deal with Tia Frio and his disgusting that he brings to the America. Are we clear? Because my kids seem to be a little more crystal clear than they ever have been.